Hey guys, Kevin here, dropping more red pills than a 1990s raver chick. Today I want to talk about Lindsay Sheperd. I know I already did a video on Winfred Laurier. I know a million other right-wing YouTubers have done videos on Winfred Laurier. Enough's been said about it, right? Well, there's one thing that hasn't been touched on, and I think it's the most outrageous part of this whole debacle. See, in the tape recorded secretly by Lindsay Sheperd when she was meeting with the Dean of Students and the other professors, there was something that was said that was just so outrageous, so abusive psychologically, that we have to talk about it. And that is they tried to gaslight Lindsay Sheperd. And we're going to see the clip here, and I'm going to talk about it afterwards.
It's the world that Jordan Peterson, Ezra Levant, Rebel Media, and that have constructed, I find quite quite amusing in a way, or bemusing, because it's almost like the left has won and controls everything, and you're going to be imprisoned if you don't adopt cultural Marxism, politically correct, the new term cultural Marxism. I mean, I find it practically ludicrous that this is the case, given the political economic realities of Canada, Ontario, Kitchener-Waterloo, this institution, precarious work, etc. So I just find it ludicrous that people like Ezra Levant and Jordan Peterson believe that.
Okay, so that was the part of the tape that I thought was so egregious and had been overlooked by so many commentators. You see, here you have these men are in a room with Lindsay Sheperd, people in authority over her, and they're telling her that she committed wrongthing. They tell her that people like Jordan Peterson, people on the right like Ezra Levant, they believe in this conspiracy theory of cultural Marxism, and that's akin to believing in black helicopters. Well, first of all, cultural Marxism is very much real, and these men know that. They are gaslighting her here. They know that because cultural Marxism, critical theory, is taught in every single university throughout the West. All you have to do is go open a Sociology 101 handbook, and it's all right there. The Frankfurt School, the whole 9 yards. Critical race theory, critical gender theory, intersectionality. It's all there. And all you have to do is go read people like Saul Alinsky. This has been taught back when I was in school, and even before that, back when my parents were in school, all the way back to the 1930s when it came into the U.S. from Europe. And it made its way to universities like Columbia, and you had people like Theodore Adorno who actively recruited new professors to teach this theory. And it has completely overtaken the institutions. So when they say that, the right believe that all the institutions have been subverted by leftists and the left has won, they pretty much have. And they are exemplifying this by standing over this young lady in which they hold a position of authority and gaslighting her. The fact is that cultural Marxism and critical theory is made to disrupt society, to destroy the values that are held by the West and by middle class, what they consider to be the bourgeois and petite bourgeois. And the fact is that they have used this technique to try to destroy anybody like Jordan Peterson who comments against it. And what they do, it's very simple. You saw this in the United States with Obama, right? Obama held the idea that was held by the majority of Americans that gay marriage wasn't and shouldn't be legal. And so that was fine in 2008. So then Obama and the left, they push it. And what they want to do is push everybody in society to follow them and believe exactly what they do. And they push everything to the most extreme belief. So 2014, Obama says, yes, I believe in gay marriage. Let's make it legal. Even though the majority of people in the United States and in Europe are against gay marriage at this time. In fact, in California, the most liberal state in America, they overwhelmingly voted against gay marriage when given the option. But they didn't care. The left did not care. That was their agenda. That was their goal. So they pushed it down the throats of the West. And that's what happened. They legalized gay marriage. And personally, I am not against gay marriage. Okay, I do disagree with the whole trans thing. And many of these issues we're seeing they're bringing up with trans now, where they want to push society to normalize mental illness, to normalize, speech codes where, and this is another thing they do, they say that nobody's being arrested for hate speech, and people who believe that, hate speech laws exist, like Jordan Peterson, they're just conspiracy theorists. Well, the reality is, and these people know that, in places like Canada, you have free speech councils that regulate speech. You have a a tribunal that has arrested people and fined people for violating hate speech laws in Canada. And it's happened all over the West. It happens in Europe. And as you saw in those clips I posted, those screenshots, those were just a few articles. There were thousands of these articles on Google that showed where people had been arrested. Thousands of people have been arrested and fined for violating hate speech laws in the West. Speech laws that basically were normal speech just a few years ago or even a decade ago. Especially when you look at what they're about. Usually these arrests, the majority that I found, were basically criticism of Islamization of Europe, criticism of open borders, or criticism of gay marriage or trans issues. Not even anything that would incite violence. But here they are abusing this woman. They are psychologically abusing Lindsay Sheperd here. And that's why I find so offensive. And it breaks my heart for this girl, because you know, it shows me that these people, they don't care about this young lady. They care about their agenda. And as professors, as her peers, they should be trying to watch out for her, trying to, you know, do what they can to guide her intellectually. And they're not. They're just trying to push an agenda. And that's what the left do. They want to weed out anybody who's not 100% on board with whatever their agenda of the week is. And that's why the schools, the universities have become so subverted with leftists. Because anybody who has a differing opinion has either been bullied out or doesn't even bother going in the first place into education, because they know that there's no space for them there. They know the kind of abuse that they're going to take going into these fields. And this is what's up next in this clip I'm going to show you. They are actually trying to discredit Jordan Peterson, even discounting his whole body of work, because he doesn't toe the line with their Marxist BS.
Right? Everyone's entitled to their opinions. But we have a duty as educators, as scholars, as academics, even as public intellectuals, to make sure that we're not furthering the kind of, I would call it charlatanism. I think Jordan Peterson, you know, and I know you're not a fan, but I think he actually shows a form of charlatanism when it comes to the academy. And he's playing this whole idea about free speech and a public debate, which is not substantiated by the fact that he has nothing really that is credible in terms of the research, including his stuff on pronouns. And for me, that's where I find people like Jordan Peterson problematic, is because I don't find anything credible in his academic research.
So guys, there's this YouTuber out there named Benjamin Boyce, and what he did was he went out and did some research after hearing this. And he researched Jordan Peterson, and he found that Jordan Peterson had a huge library of works attributed to his name. He had high ratings on all the review sites for professors, and he had thousands of academic citations attributed to him. Then he researched this professor who's calling Jordan Peterson a charlatan and a fraud. And what he found was this professor has very little in the way of academic citations and no publications to his name whatsoever. So once again, they are lying to Lindsay Sheperd, wittingly lying to Lindsay Sheperd, and they are psychologically abusing her by gaslighting her here. They're telling her that horse over there, Jordan Peterson, he's a red horse, when in reality, he's not a horse at all. He's a pit bull, and he's black. The fact is, guys, is that this is a war, okay? There should be class action lawsuits against all these universities for doing this kind of stuff, first of all. But second of all, we have to look even more long-term than that, because we really have to fight this kind of corruption in these universities. This kind of subversion cannot be stood for, because these universities affect change in the world. They set the tone for how our culture and our norms are going to be presented to us and our youth. So what we have to do is become as subversive, as determined, and as cunning as the left had been over the past 30 years. That is how we push back. Right now, the left has pretty much subverted all of our major institutions. They've definitely controlled our universities for decades now. And you really have to have nerves of steel, okay? I want my daughters to go out and affect change in the world. I will pave the way for them to do so. I will spare no expense to send them to Harvard or Yale so they can go in these universities and make changes. But part of me doesn't want that for them. I want them to be warriors in this fight, to fight for America, to fight for Western values. But I know what kind of abuse they're going to take, and that scares me. I don't want my daughters to have to put up with this kind of garbage from people in authority over them. And honestly, if it did happen to them, I would beat this professor's ass. And you know what? Maybe that's the answer.